Hello everyone, so this video is a reaction to the CNBC What Happened to Etsy video, which came out about 8 days ago. This was a major video on Etsy and a lot of people saw it. I'm going to play through the video and give you all the most relevant points with my reaction to them. A lot of this I agree with and some I disagree with. So let's get straight to it and see what I think of this video.
Etsy, the global e-commerce platform known for unique and handmade goods, reported its highest ever annual revenue of $2.7 billion in 2023. But that's not the full picture. Its gross merchandise sales, or the total value of goods sold on Etsy, declined in the same period.
Okay, so this first point that CNBC make here between the GMS, the gross merchandise sales at the end of 2022 versus the end of 2023, got to be a little bit fair to Etsy here. You know, the global economy after COVID has been suffering. You know, all that furlough money, all the money that was borrowed to keep things running and businesses moving and people surviving, all of that had to be paid back. I can't knock Etsy too much for having a Q4 2023 slightly down against 22. I don't think that is a big deal, to be fair. Let's keep going.
Falling flat for the second year in a row. Its stock is more than 70% lower than its 2021 high.
So the stock being 70% down since 2021, again, that was the peak of COVID. You know, so many companies' share prices went down by huge amounts after COVID.
First quarter 2024 earnings results didn't look much better.
Okay, so this is the reality of the situation for Etsy. It is down 3.7%, and that is, it does make people pay attention. But again, before we get to the issues with Etsy, this isn't a huge loss, given the fact that this year selling on Etsy and selling in general and the economy in general is going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. It's tough on Amazon, tough on eBay, tough on Etsy. So this isn't something particularly only Etsy is suffering from. Many, many other companies are in the same situation as this. Let's keep going.
Etsy's consolidated results, while within our guidance range, were not where we wanted them to be.
After the big increase in both buyers and spending per buyer during COVID, it looks like they've hit a wall. And you basically have a company that has not grown in 2 years.
So again, the wall that this guy is saying Etsy have hit was inevitable. If you've doubled in size between 2019 and 2020, and then you had the tail of the pandemic in 2021, of course you're going to hit a brick wall. How are you going to keep growing when you've doubled in size so quickly and literally been fueled by the pandemic? You know, it's not reasonable to expect further growth against that backdrop.
Some longtime sellers are partly blaming CEO Josh Silverman, saying his focus on profits has pushed the company away from its vision, allowing counterfeits and mass-produced items to thrive, demoralizing artists and buyers.
Competing with people who are generating art via artificial intelligence now, I can't compete. It's just junk, a lot of it.
You're just going to be a slightly more expensive Amazon? That seems like a terrible business plan.
Okay, so yes, Etsy is being flooded with AI listings, drop-shipped listings, POD listings with AI on them. But something that doesn't get mentioned in this article is it's not a level playing field, right? All this junk being put onto Etsy is not selling. It's not selling. Nobody's buying the junk, right? And listings that do sell and do make money are shown higher in the search results than the listings that don't. None of this is being mentioned in this report. It is full of junk. I agree, there's so much low effort stuff on the platform, but customers don't see a lot of it because Etsy tends to push the items that do sell. Let's keep going.
With discretionary spending down, a first quarter 2024 miss in both merchandise sales and profits, and an acknowledgement of poor execution by its CEO. Etsy's future is uncertain. As competition was stiffening, the next CEO made a big change in 2013, allowing artists to use outside manufacturers to produce their designs.
So this was the first of many progress steps that have resulted in Etsy being the way it is today. Changing the definition of handmade, bringing in production partners, all of a sudden allowed the seller base to grow, and lots more sellers come onto the platform, selling with assistance from production partners. So the wheels are already set in motion towards where we are today.
The term handmade was getting looser.
Yes, so now handmade isn't made with your own hands. You can design something and give it to someone else to make it for you, and that is classed by Etsy as handmade.
And in this new public arena, the company was beholden to financially focused shareholders with a laser focus on growth.
And as I said earlier, this is why you sellers on Etsy and customers for different reasons are frustrated with Etsy, because they have to bring revenue to the shareholders, and that is often at the deficit or causing problems for sellers and customers. Even though we are Etsy's customers, we are where Etsy is going to focus their attention to make more money, and often not to benefit us whatsoever.
For the month of April, Etsy sold $133 million worth of face masks. That's 12 million face masks.
So a bit they don't mention here is that the face mask phenomenon on Etsy literally put Etsy on its way to doubling in size through 2020, because Etsy announced to sellers to make face masks. They don't tell you this in this video, but Etsy was telling sellers to make face masks to satisfy demand. Of course they were, right? Of course they were. It's more revenue for Etsy. Off the back of that, more revenue for sellers. You know, I worked with sellers that sold tens of thousands of face masks. They were literally flying off the shelves for a year. But Etsy pushed that. They promoted that. So they are partly responsible for taking that decision to make the money off of the back of face masks.
Gross merchandise sales grew by more than 100% year over year in 2020, and more than 30% in 2021. Etsy's stock price reached its all-time high that same year.
So yeah, this encapsulates perfectly what Etsy looks like through the years from COVID to now. Impossible to maintain. Look at the graph, look at the size of that share price. It's always going to come down, and now Etsy is in a position where we've got a flat marketplace in a flat, problematic, war-infused economy, and people are saying, well, Etsy, you're a growth company. How are you going to bring more growth? And Josh can spin it any way he wants. He can talk about it any way he wants, but it's not going to be possible to bring growth at the moment, given the market conditions, given the position that Etsy's put itself in. There won't be any growth this year, probably not next year either.
Don't shut down my shop without letting me talk to a person.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the key areas that Etsy is messing up big time. Etsy needs to listen to its sellers. One of the things that Etsy needs to do, and I can't believe they don't do it, they need staff who sell on the platform daily, right? They don't know their own platform because none of their staff are actually selling on Etsy, right? And then staff will see the problems that us sellers have on the platform. And if your store gets shut down, this lady's right. You need to be told immediately what went wrong, what you did wrong, and how to fix it. Completely unacceptable, and I totally agree.
The company has said it had to make some tough changes to compete with giants like Amazon, which spends more on marketing and has more repeat buyers.
Yes, it did. And that's part of going public. Yes, it is now in a race for business and not handmade business, because the definition of Etsy where it came from is handmade, but it's changing. It can't stay handmade. It needs to bring more and more revenue in. And that means appealing to more and more people. So inevitably, the platform is going to start to look more and more like sites like Amazon.
Its deteriorating reputation is another issue the company is fighting. Sellers have blamed the 2013 rule change allowing creators to outsource their production for what they call the junkification of Etsy.
The junkification of Etsy, yeah. If you go and look on the platform and you type in, keywords for whatever you're looking for, as you scroll down through the page and look at stuff, you're going to see a lot of low quality effort products. And even though Etsy's visibility system does work to a certain extent to show better quality products based on sales and speed of sale, other products are still visible that aren't going to sell. No one's going to buy them. And this junkification is quite a good word. It needs sorting out. Etsy needs to reduce the number of products on the platform that aren't adding value to the customer experience, right? If it's adding value and people like the products, great. But let's cut out the products that aren't working, the products that just mess up the platform and flood it with items that most people are never going to buy.
In a comment to CNBC, Etsy said that it recognizes its current definition of handmade includes a broad spectrum of items and will clarify its policies to be more transparent about what belongs on Etsy in the coming months.
So, yes, we're all waiting for this. We're all waiting to see what Etsy classes as handmade or how it's going to change and whether it's going to bring in identification for listings so that someone shopping on Etsy can see a listing is truly handmade because it's got a handmade icon on it. Just as an example, this is just me sort of waxing lyrical on how they can bring clarity about what's being shown on Etsy and what belongs on Etsy. It'll be interesting to see what they say because they can't get rid of all the counterfeit, trademark and copyright goods en masse because the platform will collapse. But they have to do something about the bad actors and the poor products. So later this year, I think we're going to see some announcements from Etsy, and it'll be good to see what they say. Sellers are changing. Sellers are coming onto the marketplace now with a different MO, a different goal, just to make money, right? Just to make money. They don't care about Etsy. They don't care about other Etsy sellers. They don't even care about the customers, really. They just want to make money. And Etsy is a place to make money. And because Etsy has become publicly traded and moved the way it has, it becomes attractive to these types of sellers that don't really care about other sellers, don't massively care about the marketplace or anything. As long as they make money, that's all they care about.
Etsy said it removed 115% more listings for violating company policy in the first quarter 2024 than the year prior.
So yeah, this is true. They did remove listings, and you might have seen this. I've certainly noticed listings being removed. I've noticed stores that used to be there that aren't anymore because they were breaking the rules, or Etsy TOS, something like that. So yeah, they did.
As Etsy tries to compete with e-commerce giants like eBay or Amazon, the path for being both successful and loyal to its core principles is unclear.
That's the problem. Saying the words competing with Amazon and eBay, that's putting a necessary push behind the company Etsy to become something that it just doesn't know what it is. It doesn't know what the version of the company is that's going to compete with eBay and Amazon. What's it going to be? Because realistically, the only thing that will allow Etsy to compete with eBay and Amazon is to not be Etsy. Just to not be Etsy. It needs to be something completely different, doesn't it? It can't be handmade. It can't be where it came from. It's already changed. It's not handmade anymore. It's all sorts of things. So the version of Etsy and its future that it needs to be, nobody knows what that is, least of all Etsy.
The 7 million artists are what the company was founded on, and without them, Etsy is perhaps no longer Etsy, or offers what buyers are looking for anymore.
So yeah, this is the fundamental problem. Etsy isn't Etsy anymore. But what is Etsy? What is Etsy to become? Nobody knows, and Etsy does not know. Etsy doesn't know what it's supposed to be now. Now that it's in this race, this ever-growing need to get bigger and make more money. So I'm going to draw this to a close here. It's a fascinating piece by CNBC, mostly right. I've given my opinions on it. Let me know what you think about this CNBC video, and put your thoughts in the comments, and also what you think about what I've said. And as always, if you want to work with me, book your free discovery call with me. The booking link, the book in now button is coming up. It's a free call with me to work out how we will work together in a paid consultation to build, grow, repair, or start an Etsy business for you. So I hope you enjoyed this, something different, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Cheers.